Player on the quantum stage, Paul Gazzardo. Edgar Allan Poe tells of a hole in his descent into the maelstrom. The Cryptmaster tale is about two brothers in a small boat sucked into a gigantic whirlpool. With all hope lost, one brother watched the currents, the vortex. He sees that some objects do not fall, but are whirled up to the level of the sea. By studying the whirlpool and by cooperating with it, the brother makes good his escape. The other is not so fortunate. Inspired by Edgar Allan Poe's descent into the maelstrom, Player on the quantum stage situates itself metaphorically at the bottom of the vortex. The whole conceit. The player probes the devolving landscape of creativity in a sterile, techno-optimistic age where computational power has gutted traditional artistic forms. Developed collaboratively across Argentina, the United States, and Scotland, the player offers an insider's look at the rise of social media and artificial intelligence. The player is assembled from an olfactory archive of legal documents. As the player storyboards scroll on a Giovanni Piranesi Carceri d'Invenzione party wall, the party wall is breached by storytelling avatars, a party of fakes. Among other notable fakes, the avatar cast includes Samuel Butler, Aldous Huxley, Henry Ford, and Hannah Arendt. Piranesi's prison wall and fakes are backdrop and player in an anticipated theatrical production. This staged chronicle of a dance with an evolving super-intelligent machine is dramatized through conversations between digital avatars and author Paul Gazzardo, a threesome. Player on the quantum stage is one more iteration in the author's attempt to keep an eye on a vortex and erect guardrails to keep a body from falling into a hole. A chronology of a banister build design praxis now follows. The player is the last in a triad of projects. The Praxis trilogy began in 2015 with a septic turn in a space of appearance. The algorithm that ate the street showed up in 2019. 5 years later, the player grabbed the baton. All were triggered by an urban design protocol, labeled Recursive Urbanism, RU for short, by Lawrence Holm and author Gazzardo. RU showed up in 1996 in St. Louis, Missouri, the hometown of Twitter's Jack Dorsey and OpenAI CEO Sam Altman. From the start, recursive urbanism took a journalistic witness stance. The successive iterations, septic turn, algorithm, the player, all offered an insider's look at a stage that helped set the stage for the explosion of social media and the rise of an artificial intelligence project. Desperate for a path forward in the face of the exponential scalability of computational power, each RU iteration exposed how sterile and decadent elites made it difficult for creative communities to adapt, to innovate, and to reconsider their practices in an advancing AI landscape. Like its forerunners, the player tries to generate content that dives into the interaction between technology and creativity, men and machines. While the priors delved into how digital technologies shaped our interactions with the stages we play on, the player confronts the essence of body and player. It stresses the role of collaboration in shaping cultural narratives and mapping storytelling. But like its precursors, the player struggles to bring together actors from diverse fields, linked by a willingness to adopt an aggressive agonistic path forward. A Janus-faced. Recursive urbanism is a hybrid design tool fused in the street and the courtroom. RU aimed to identify epistemic niches, stages where knowledge and creativity converge, nodes as anchors, grounding us amidst rapid technological acceleration. The advancing design tactics included nightclubs, outdoor projections, street-front media labs, street theatre, remix concerts, gallery installations, documentary films, webinars, the talk circuit, and of course, lawsuits. RU is a triage initiative. Triage, as in the author Gazzardo's earlier legal work with a UNHCR prioritization effort, UNHCR, the United Nations agency, which is mandated to protect and support refugees. Recursive urbanism is traced to a place and a time, place, St. Louis, Missouri, time 1996 to 2016. This city was home not just to media tinkers, Jack Dorsey and Sam Altman, but to media thinkers. The Jesuit father, Walter Ong, came to St. Louis University in 1938, 1 year after his teacher arrived. The teacher was in St. Louis for 7 years, Walter Ong until his death in 2003. The Jesuit survived his teacher by 23 years. The teacher was Marshall McLuhan. But this algorithmic tale doesn't start in 1937 or 1996, but in July 1429. It opens with the last utterance of the departing French scholar, educator, reformer, poet, and chancellor of the University of Paris, Jean Charlier de Gerson. His last utterance, "May the lilies multiply." The lilies of France, the fleur-de-lis, were the heraldic device of the royal family of France. As long as France fought infidels and heretics, it was believed the protection of the princes of the fleur-de-lis was assured, and this included the most glorious Capetian prince, Louis IX, St. Louis. The descendants of Louis IX ran with it, it being an algorithm. And, like the finite sequence of mathematically rigorous instructions in successor modern computational algorithms, heraldry's rules governing colors, symbols, and repeatable patterns ensure that the same input will always produce the same output. Despite the Chancellor's blessing, or because of it, the output of that heraldic algorithm slipped into decadence, creative stasis, and something septic turn in a space of appearance. The phrase space of appearance is out of a how-to book by Hannah Arendt. The human condition is her remix tool. It's her creative checklist for those of us in a skirmish with the flat. This idea archaeologist was keen on the Greek street. Arendt understood the classical street. The first-time polis is where much of who we are emerged. And it was on the Greek street where Hannah Arendt started routing out tools for a space of appearance. Septic turn looked to Arendt as it described how aggressive groupthink and credentialed elites keep nudging us into a hole. To Septic Turn, 2015 press releases now follow. These Scottish communiques were first used in a tranche of legal pleadings. The dispatches are now being deployed in the Quantum Player script as blueprint anchors for a theatrical production. 1. The Dundee International Law Society. Guzzardo is a fellow at the Geddes Institute for Urban Research. He is a media activist, designer, and lawyer based in St. Louis and Buenos Aires. He maps the devolving state of the American public sphere. 2. Edinburgh College of Art. A septic turn in the space of appearance. A brief for a city with elites in decline offers a contemporary update on Geddes' citizen survey and civic exhibition. The installation details an ongoing lawsuit between the plaintiff Paul Guzzardo and two defendants, Grand Center, a private corporation with statutory development powers in St. Louis, and Washington University, a bioscience research institution. The Guzzardo case has been in and out of court for 7 years. The core of the lawsuit is whether there are enforceable media ecological standards in using digital technology on the street. Can we do anything about the glut in our public spaces? The algorithm that ate the street was the second in the RU triage cycle. As the moniker suggests, it explored the intersection of urban spaces and digital technology, how algorithms are transforming city streets. Algorithm consisted of a series of probes, a spate of installations, storyboards, articles, academic and popular press, and a line of videos and TikToks. Read the bubble, Algorithm 96, Becoming Stupid. The probes were slides, biopsy-like, chronicling the skirmish between the street and advancing digital tissue. In a line of UNESCO presentations, Algorithm went by the triage sobriquet, DSLB. The digital street lab in a box was presented as kit to keep us, the half-seeing, standing in the face of an unceasing data assault. As a Swiss Army knife in a skirmish with those predictive machines whose goal is to dress a perfect model of who you are, what you want. Given the wave of internecine litigation that recursive urbanism provoked in St. Louis, the DSLB was paired with an ask. The ASK was called St. Louis 1937. It was a proposal for a UNESCO Cultural World Heritage Site designation. 1937, the year that Marshall McLuhan came to St. Louis, was the same year Alan Turing published On Computable Numbers. St. Louis 1937 was a Hail Mary pass, a last resort, to anchor a reflective grammar on St. Louis streets and beyond. While the effort failed, the UNESCO bid offers a probe into a stagnant time and place before, and to borrow from Siegfried Gideon, AI took command. What drives the player on the quantum stage is the hope that this UNESCO World Heritage tale and the resistance it provoked might incite a larger discussion by historians of culture and technology of how we ended up in a hole at the bottom of Edgar Allan Poe's maelstrom, Cities in Devolution. The 3 thick tomes were plopped on the table. Tomes and tableau were part of an installation observing the centennial of Patrick Geddes' Cities in Evolution. The compendiums were there for visitors to thumb through at their leisure. The volumes contained court orders, summonses issued, memorandums filed, motions to quash, municipal bond prospectuses, urban design master plans, proto-quantum stage sketches, and hundreds of pages of witness testimony, reams of paper telling of decadence and a lack of creative imagination. Above the glut was a tableau assembled from fragments of a lost silent film. The nitrate decayed remains are thought to be silver screen residue from Charles Dickens's Bleak House. Now recognised as his ever best, Dickens' tale is about Jarndyce v. Jarndyce, that maddening, interminable lawsuit. Table and tableau, designed by the author, and architects Cameron McEwen and Lawrence Holm, offered visitors a safe space to observe a plunge into a hole. Performative excerpts from one of the tomes below a tableau follow. Like the other passages in this paper outlining plot, characters, and key scenes, it's hoped a heuristic burlesque play will play well while we're wedged in a hole. Paragraph 16. The harm caused to the plaintiff's research is the subject of an exhibition at the University of Dundee. The exhibition, A Septic Turn in a Space of Appearance, opened on October 19th and will close on December 11th, 2015. Exhibition content includes 1. The video depositions of plaintiff, Washington University professor Heather Woofter, and VSRC director Emily Pulitzer. 2. 3 Gazzado's documentaries. 3. A graphic board referencing the novel Bleak House by Charles Dickens. A Septic Turn in a Space of Appearance is part of The City as Thinking Machine, The City in Evolution, which commemorates the centennial publication of Patrick Geddes' Cities in Evolution. Paragraph 32. The media box contract was signed on March 25th, 2004. The contract stated, Gazzado would improve the lot and construct a media box on the property. The media box was a prototype information age structure. Media box programming and content would emphasize the scholarly media and communications heritage of St. Louis University's theorists, Marshall McLuhan and Father Walter Ong. The parties here to acknowledge and agree that the project will enhance and benefit the Grand Center District and the region by serving as a center for the study of media art and communication systems. Paragraph 14. The plaintiff finds himself caught in an internecine battle raging in a Missouri Urban Redevelopment Corporation. The defendant has the requested information, but they don't want it to see the light of day. The objections are, in part, intended to protect Director Pulitzer from a claim of director self-dealing. That is why this production request has implications well beyond the plaintiff's claims. The missing documents are both a window into the implosion of a municipal urban redevelopment corporation and an historical record of the fouling of the nation's new media heritage site. Also found beneath the Bleak House altar were other choice legal bits. They described a gonzo agitprop effort to scuttle a $1 billion tax referendum. The plebiscite was to keep Eero Saarinen's monument upright and standing. A snippet of a tale about a big deal land deal, the Louisiana Purchase, and 900 tons of polished stainless steel. Now follows order and partial judgment. Plaintiff alleges, Aaliyah, that Callis undertook to represent plaintiff in connection with the option contract that plaintiff earlier entered into with the Grand Center corporations. That Callis purposefully mishandled depositions on crucial issues, e.g., purposely failing to raise issues of director self-dealing because the depositions were coming at a time when voters were being asked to approve the Gateway Arch sales tax referendum, a project that was of critical importance to another Callis client, the Metro East Parks and Recreation District. Plaintiff alleges that because of this conflict of interest, Callis purposely was dilatory in handling the case. That Callis kept plaintiff in the dark regarding the progress of the case, including failing to communicate with plaintiff regarding discovery and depositions. That Callis prevented plaintiff from attending important depositions. That Callis failed to cover specific vital issues during the depositions. And that Callis failed to file any pleadings in response to defendant's motion for summary judgment. Plaintiff alleges that Callis made a calculated decision to sell out the plaintiff and forfeit the case, to make sure that nothing and no one would get in the way of getting the voters to approve a sales tax for renovation of the St. Louis Gateway Arch, which was important to those other Callis clients. Whistleblower filing TCR 1351178585078. United States Securities and Exchange Commission. The conflicts here are many. It's endemic. It's the St. Louis problem. It's the result of a blended public-private power structure. It underlies much of the economic and cultural development in the St. Louis metropolitan area. I know that the Securities and Exchange Commission is not charged to deal in irony, but it is ironic that the attempt to celebrate and mark a new national heritage site is being undermined by an old one, a show of things to come. Over the years, the author has ricocheted between two attempts to describe what's at the bottom of Edgar Allan Poe's hole. One, a mosh pit filled with players from Huxley's Brave New World and Orwell's 1984 banging against one another, For the record, and to give the fictive buttheads their due, they include Bernard Marx, John the Savage, Lenina Crown, Mustafa Mond, Winston Smith, Julia O'Brien, Emmanuel Goldstein, and of course Big Brother. 2, the home to a gillion dressers and clients in an haute couture fitting room. The algorithmic muse is in place, scissors in hand. Loose-fitting, waist-cinched jackets are changing, transforming, tighter, longer, and ever more straight, while the litigious passages that paper this paper might suggest number 1. A seat overlooking a mosh pit of buttheads. Wrong. It's number 2. It's happening in the fitting room. It's the set for the quantum stage. In 2021, Telegram CEO Pavel Durov did a fashion shoot. The photos feature Durov in minimal clothing, his glistening hard body set against the striking backdrop of a United Arab Emirates desert. Unlike the earlier emperor with that disruptive little boy, our emperors know they are showing skin, and the skin is yours. Thank you.